Hello everyone, it's your favorite West Virginia out in space here, and it's no secret pirates are very popular in media, and that totally extends to the TTRPG community. And why shouldn't they be? There's so much to love. There's tons of bad guys to fight, merchants, shenanigans, islands filled with treasure, and of course supernatural and mortal threats alike. And of course there's nothing more fun than a treasure map half the time, isn't there? But ultimately, that does lead to a thing, is that there's a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that telling you how to run a pirate game, or pirate settings, or how to incorporate this or that pirate thing, and they're all good and they serve a purpose and all that jazz. However, there's something a lot of them overlook: the players. Now sure, some of these books have like new player options, but no one actually sits down, at least to my knowledge, and looks at like all the player options and thinks, okay, out of what is presented in 5e core, like the 5e core books and all that jazz, what does fit the best for a pirate themed campaign? And so that's the service I'm here to give you all today, free of any form of rating. I'm going to give an overview of all the races, classes, and feats I believe perfectly fit a pirate-themed campaign. Ultimately, I will have to be fast with each explanation and not really go into what they do because A, there's other places you can learn how that works, and B, we have a lot to cover, so we have to be fast here. So get ready, get a ship, find a treasure map, and let's go find some pirate booty as soon as you get yourself ready, because let's be honest here, you don't look really pirate ready. You gotta stop dressing at Party City. Starting our coverage of all the races, of course, is first the elf, which honestly, this fits well. They're very dexterous, they're kind of got some many tricks going on, and they fit well in a pirate crew. Obviously, next is the humans. If I need to explain to you, the humans are very common in most fantasy settings, and especially in pirate ones, I don't know what to tell you. The next up are the half-elves, which are the logical consequences of having humans and elves in the same room. Next up are the tieflings, which honestly, given all like the shady deals and devil bargains that happen in pirate kind of things and cursed artifacts, there's probably going to be quite a few tieflings running around. Next up are the Arakakra, which, bird people, parrots. It basically tells you so. I would flavor them, like I said, as parrot people, and ultimately that kind of gimmick. But honestly, it's probably the one setting where they wouldn't be super overpowered. Next up are the Genasi, specifically the air and water Genasi. And I don't know, it just kind of fits with the whole, sea and sail kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Next up are the Kenku. The Kenku are just kind of fun, and they kind of fit the pseudo-bird aesthetic, and, they're funny, and I think they fit well on a pirate ship, especially like a bad guy's second mate or something. Next up are the lizard folk. Pirate games often take place during tropical islands, and tropical human islands are where lizard people would love to hang out, and honestly, they just sound like a pretty good member to have on a crew. Shifters are probably a little bit controversial, I kind of admit they're a bit odd to put there, but ultimately I think they're well for kind of the more like, that one crew that has like the pseudo-bestial companion member of the party. I think they kind of work here at least. And last are the Tritons. The closest thing D&D 5e has to mermaids, and I think they work out pretty well for this one, and their powers are pretty good, all things considered. Here are the classes and subclasses, so let's get going. First class, the Artificer with the Artillerist. I think the Artillerist fits pretty well. You could be a deckhand. Once again, as far as your artillery weapon, you just whip the ship cannon off a ship and now shooting it at people. For the Barbarian, the Path of the Totem Warrior, it kind of fits with the theme and the setting and time period, and also is just a pretty good subclass overall. I think works well with the thing. The Path of the Storm is, of course, storm commanding, very helpful in fighting enemy ships and that kind of thing. It just feels thematically appropriate. Next up are the Bards. College of Valor. This basically lets you buff your allies, and given all the she-sit boarding you're going to be doing, it probably helps have someone to inspire the lesser people. Next up, College of Swords. Everyone collectively agrees this is supposed to be pirate themed for the Bard, and I am no exception to the collective on that one. Next up is the College of Whisperers, which I think really goes for a very good stealth, mimicry, kind of subterfuge spying that happened during the pirate era. And last for the Bard is the College of Eloquence. This really works well for especially those characters that are either new to like the pirate world and they come from like the old, more aristocratic world, or they're just straight up privateers, and so they have a lot more class about them, if you will. Next up is the Cleric, the Tempest Domain. Similar reason for the Path of the Storm Barbarian. You command storms in nature, very helpful if you're on a pirate ship or ship in general. The Forge Domain is kind of similar to the Artificer. You, of course, have the ability to help make things, repair things, and very useful on a ship filled with, age of sail technology. Next is the Grave Domain. There's a lot of undead in pirate stories for whatever reason. Having a guy who's designed to beat those things up is pretty helpful, honestly. And now we go to the Druids, Circle of the Land, specifically the coast or desert variety. Once again, lots of coast, lots of desert, makes sense to be a Druid of those things, just of course in my personal opinion. Then we have the Circle of the Stars Druid, which I think, once again, you're navigating, doing a lot of star stuff, and, by navigation, very helpful to have someone who's good at that. Now we move on to the Fighter with the Champion. Once again, you are going to be a legendary fighter in this one that just fights and is really good at it. With the Battle Master subclass, this is basically, you inspire the troops with tactics. You tell them how to go, how to fight, and do it best. The samurai is actually a bit of a historical reference, given that there were a ton of Christian samurai running around the early colonization of Spain / pseudo-pirate era. So ultimately, I just think it was a fun nod to that, and they're pretty cool for this kind of thing, given a lot of the extra attacks you have are going to be helpful in those pirate ship attacks. Moving on to the monk, the only subclass we have here is the Way of the Drunken Master, specifically because pirates get drunk a lot. There's a lot of drinking that goes on in these kind of things, and being a master of that seems like a good plan. Now we move on to the Paladin. First is the Oath of Vengeance. This is pretty simple. You have a vengeance against either one particular pirate lord, or pirates in general, or criminals, or something or another, and ultimately that's what drives you to be a Paladin. The Oath of Conquest. You are basically a pirate lord or an aspiring pirate lord, coming to conquer the 7 seas in the name of gold and your own personal glory. Speaking of glory, the Oath of Glory Paladin. Once again, you want to become a legendary pirate, less about having power and wealth, but more about the glory, the legend of being a pirate lord. Next up is we move on to the Ranger with the Monster Slayer. Once again, there are like krakens and horrible sea monsters and that kind of thing in this world. Having someone a master of the wild and wanting to take down big monsters just feels appropriate on a pirate ship. And then we have the Fey Wanderer. This is me trying to account for like pseudo like Fey kind of magics in like some pirate stories. So the Fey Wanderer is just kind of how this works. The Rogue is next with the Thief subclass. Once again, it's pretty obvious. A lot of pirates are kind of, rogues and criminals, but the thief has a lot of abilities to climb and acrobatics, which is going to be quite helpful given all the pirate ship stuff you're going to have to do. The swashbuckler is next. Do I even need to explain this? It's a literal swashbuckler. If I need to explain why this is important, you need some help. Next is the Phantom. The Phantom is, it's kind of like a shadow magic-y kind of thing, which I think kind of fits a little more mysterious or dark kind of thing, kind of like the College of Whispers borrowed from earlier. Next up is the Sorcerer with shadow magic. Very similar to the Phantom, you've been touched by some dark forces like Davy Jones' locker or something, and now you have shadow magic. Next up is the Storm Sorcerer. Once again, Master of the Seas is going to be very helpful on a pirate ship doing pirate things on the sea. Now we move on to the Warlock with the Fiend. Once again, Devil's Bargains. That kind of thing is pretty common in pirate stories, and this is basically that. The Fathomless class is next. I think that's rather obvious why it's here. This ocean's big and scary, and there's tons of monsters like the Kraken the Ranger's trying to kill. And last is the Genie for the Warlock. This may seem kind of weird, but a lot of genies work like deals. They're making bargains with debts and things to pay, which I think fits a pirate-themed campaign. It is me. Maybe your patron is like the captain of a pirate ship. I don't know. Last is the Wizard with Abjuration First. Once again, protection is going to be pretty helpful when massive cannons are flying around everywhere. Evocation is when you want to be the cannon, but with magic. Divination is a bit more specialized, but it's quite helpful here. Mostly because you're doing stuff like seeing where to sail, where you might find the next best loot, how to read a treasure map, or just find buried treasure, and that kind of thing. Necromancy. You are the guy that all the other classes who are designed to fight undead are coming for, and you are the problem. You're also, once again, very thematic for this kind of thing. War magic is next. The pirate era is basically defined by a lot of the wars and conflicts that led up to it. It would not shock me to have a war wizard who's now out of employment becoming a pirate for this kind of thing. And the last is the Blade Singer. This is kind of specialized, but it ultimately exists as a matter of, if you're going to be a wizard and a bunch of up-close personal fight, it probably helps to be good with a blade. Last but not least are the feats. This is specifically feats you might take to help add pirate flavor to your character, or potentially to help you out in the circumstances you'll find yourself in a pirate-themed game. And first up is Athlete. Once again, you're jumping from ship to ship, climbing ropes, and that kind of thing. Athlete is going to be helpful. Crossbow expert. If your GM does not like guns, this is the next best thing. Defensive duelist. Lots of swashbuckling, you're going to want that. Inspiring leader. You are often going to be commanding a whole bunch of pirate crew. It helps to be good at it. Keen mind. Once again, it helps to have a functional brain on your soldier in these kind of situations. Lucky. Do I even need... First of all, this is good for you in general, but it's also very thematic for some pirate characters like Jack Sparrow. Magic Initiate. If you want to have a little magical flair to your character without having to commit to the bit. Martial Adept. Once again, this is going to be a lot of fighting in a lot of particular ways. Helps to be good at it. Mobile, once again, you move fast, you're agile, and helps you do this. It's going to be helpful around here. Observant, you're going to be doing a lot of looking out, searching for clues, and that kind of thing in this game. It helps to be, once again, good at it. Sharpshooters, your ships might be quite a bit far away before you can normally shoot them, and being able to pluck a few guys off is going to be helpful. Tavern Brawler, there are going to be situations, almost certainly, where you get blackout drunk, and it helps to be good at it when you get into them. Racial feats, this is a broad category for racial feats that apply to some of the races here. Sorry if your race doesn't have some, they really should add them in. Artificer Initiate, if you want to be a little good at the technical stuff without having to commit to the artificial. Eldritch Adept, you made a deal with some power, and this is the consequences of it. Fey Touched, you've been touched by the Fey, or kind of light magic shenanigans, or I don't know, maybe a mermaid likes you. Fighting Initiate, once again, similar to the martial ad beginner. Gunner, first the GM lets you use guns, pick this one. And finally, Shadow Touch, if you just want a little bit of the touch, or you've only lightly grazed Davy Jones' locker. So ultimately, that's just my picks. They aren't like exclusive. I'm not gonna say like if you play a pirate game, you must pick these. But ultimately, that's just my thoughts. What do you think? Do you like my picks? Do you think they're stupid? You think I should have added one or removed one? Yeah, ultimately, just please comment down below whatever you like. If you liked it, please like. If you disliked, please dislike, and all that jazz. And I hope to see you all next time. Yeah. Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.